gonna have a fantastic time tonight. MoMondays is a great chance for us to focus on who we are instead of what we do. And I just think there's not enough of that in this world.
I got my, entertaining bug from my great-grandmother, who was an incredible storyteller who was born in August of 1888. And if you know criminal history, you'll know that August 1888 in the East End of London was the first Jack the Ripper murder. And my great-grandmother was born about 3 blocks from that murder. And she was living in a little slum in one room with about a dozen other family members. My great-great-grandfather was a musician who traveled the world. I'm not him. He was a bit of a rogue. He used to come back with money, but by the time he got back to the East End of London, he'd spent it all on gin and, well, let's just say other things.
Now, my father has had an Oldsmobile F85. That is a very ordinary car with a bench seat. And my father picked them up and drove them to Barrie. So you got to picture this. My father is 6'1.5". Elizabeth Taylor is about yay high. And Richard Burton is not that tall either, are in the front seat of the car. My mother is in the back seat of the car with the lady that was taking care of them. My mother commented on a number of occasions that my father seemed to speed up and slow down, and speed up and slow down. And it had to do with the proximity of Elizabeth Taylor.
And unfortunately, ironically too, the same day my father passed, my knee collapsed. And I went to go for a walk, and we're not walking anymore. So now I can't work. I found myself nowhere to go, no way to pay rent. So I sent my son to live with a friend. I boarded my dog, and I moved into a Ford Focus wagon. And I very quickly learned that camping is never going to be for me, and I hope I never, ever meet the owners of Coleman, because I couldn't advertise for them. Now, can I cook eggs on the hood of a car? Yes, I can. You can actually even bring company. I had my clothes in the back. I had my middle for a sleeping area. And I could even bring a guest for coffee, as long as hopefully they didn't look in the back. Toys R Us, it's down here in Barrie, became my favorite perch, actually, because it became the one parking lot where I could hide, and they had a beautiful tree and a Tim Hortons right next door to eat. But nobody seemed to notice the little girl sleeping in her car, and, you just kind of wander up and down the highways. And I did a lot of traveling and some adventures.
I was at the psychiatrist because I was so much into depression. I went to see the psychiatrist, and it was my 4th visit, and I thought it was the last visit. But I turned around and I put my hand on the doorknob, and it was one of those Columbo moments, It's like, Doc, I feel like I've been taking care of the whole world for the last 20 years. Wouldn't it be cool if somebody could just take care of me? He brings out the notepad again. He'd all put it all away in the blue file. The blue file is for the crazy, crazy people. Okay? But he had it in the blue file, and he took it out and said, oh, yeah. Under the premise of be careful what you ask for, 4 months later, I'm in the hospital, and the nurses are doing everything for me. Things that I could do when I was 2 and 3 years old, the nurses are doing now.
27-year-old woman. That's the same age as my daughter. She was eating a sandwich, and she choked on it. By the time the paramedics arrived and removed the sandwich and got her to breathe again, she had irreversible brain damage. She spent 9 months in the hospital in a coma. After 9 months, they decided there was nothing else they could do. They sent her to us, a nursing home, in a coma. Our first resident on tube feeding, IV 24 hours a day, colostomy, catheter, bed baths every morning. The only movement she had was an eyelid flutter. And we don't know whether that was voluntary or whether it was just a bodily movement. So I'm walking down the hall, and as I'm walking down the hall, past her room, I hear singing. happy birthday. The PSW on duty that morning, who was giving her her bed bath, noticed that it was the young woman's 28th birthday and was singing happy birthday to her.
They come to break down the door. Forgive me, Delilah, I just can't take anymore.
All right, everybody stop. Do this.
Forgive me, Delilah, I just can't take anymore.
Thank you.